What's up, everybody? This is Jay, and this video is about why did death come in threes for hip hop. Now, all my life of growing up, I would hear people say death usually comes in threes, and it would be very interesting that it would normally come true. This time in hip hop, it played out right before our very eyes. Three middle aged rappers in their 50s all passed away suddenly, unexpectedly. They weren't related, didn't have anything to do with one another, but within the period of just 2 weeks, they were all dead, and it was really kind of tragic. I'm gonna get into it. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, bang that bell. Let me talk about this real quick. And in the end, I want you all to let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you think death really does come in threes? Is this a coincidence? Is it a higher power? Is it something else going on? You let me know, because it's really kind of a mystery and it's hard to explain. Now let's get into it. DMX, who was born Earl Simmons in 1970, died on April 9th, 2021 from what we know as maybe a heart attack, to say the least. Also, Black Rob was born in 1968 and died April 17th, 2021 from various different illnesses. We also had Shock G, who was born in 63 and died April 22nd, 1921 from, who knows at this time. For it to be clear, it could be from drug use and other things. It's very unfortunate right now that middle-aged rappers do not experience the same success in their later years that rock and roll stars are able to experience and tour. You have some rock bands that are touring and making money and selling out, like the Rolling Stones, and they're in their 70s. Whereas once a rapper is no longer young, they are discarded for the most part. And it's always wise, for every Jay-Z out there, it's many more that are struggling and are forgotten, even if you were considered the number one rapper in the world like DMX was at one point. Now, pop culture is always fixated on youth, but no pop genre has a harder time taking care of its vets than hip hop. Artists age out of the limelight quickly, and there aren't many nostalgia tours that sustain rap's elder statesmen as there are in classic rock. Now, too few rappers seem to be making it to old age, let alone if they do, they won't be able to be successful. Two stars of two very different eras were lost in the past few weeks. We had Shock G, who introduced the persona-based one-man show in the early 1990s, and the tormented DMX, who returned rap to the gritty realism in the late 90s after the void was left from the death of the late great Tupac. DMX was 50 and Shock G was just 57. DMX, born Earl Simmons, was one of hip hop's great success stories. He suffered through child abuse, and at the hands of his mother and her boyfriends, he fled his home in Yonkers. In his teens, living on the streets and befriending stray dogs, he developed his own toughness. He later claimed that he was tricked into smoking crack by a mentor after he smoked a blunt laced with crack. He became addicted. Eventually, he wound up in group homes where he developed a love for beatboxing and later rapping. DMX took his rap name from a drum machine and honed a concussive style. After a few stints in prison for crimes including carjacking, he dedicated his time to writing raps. He achieved some buzz with a plug in the Source magazine's unsigned hype column and as a guest on singles like The Lox' Money, Power, and Respect and LL Cool J's 4321 that also had Method Man, Redman, Master P, and Cannabis. After being sidelined at his first label, Rough House, DMX was signed to Def Jam, where he restored the once prominent label to glory. DMX was one of only a handful of people who could ever lay claim to being the most popular rapper in the world, and of those few, he was the most unlikely of them all. In '98, he released two albums 7 months apart. May, he released It's Dark and Hell is Hot, and in December, he dropped Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. They were each certified triple platinum by December of 2000. Now in 1999, though, he dropped the third album, and then there was X. That went 4 times platinum in less than 1 year. Across an 8-year peak, he scored 5 straight #1 albums on the Billboard charts. He did so with an aggressive disposition and ferocious verses that jumped out at you from the shadows. His songs were possessed by demons, both literal and based on a persona. The music, murky and ominous, but also sincere and in search of a righteous path, was both deeply Christian and deeply violent. The intensity through which DMX performed was almost seismic, and the force of his fear of damnation left raw lyrics in his wake. Now, the overwhelming response to his insistent and almost antagonistic methods led to a changing of the hip-hop guard, which ended the stranglehold on rap that was held by Puff Daddy's Bad Boy Records. See, once Tupac died, Death Row Records, Snoop Dogg left, Dr. Dre left, it left a void. And at the time, Puff Daddy was taking over and he had a lot of music coming out. DMX stepped into that light and he never did stop shining. Now, a lot of people remember Bad Boy for that era of bling and shiny suits. But DMX, he was real, he was street. He didn't wear shiny suits. He barely wore a shirt, let alone anything shiny. And he brought in a new wave of street artists and people like 50 Cent, Ja Rule, Cameron, other New York artists that came through. He paved the way. Now, none of them had as much success as DMX. And it was as if his songs, they were, possible for someone who has seen the worst in humanity to survive. And he gave people that were going through hard times hope. And as long as you were able to deal with that spiritual struggle and keep your head upon your shoulders properly, you could survive. I mean, DMX was able to survive through all odds and come out #1. Now, we did know he had demons that he had to battle. But if DMX kind of brought hardcore rap back together, Shock G, aka Gregory Jacobs, he was the exact opposite. Now, he was born in Brooklyn, and he also, was a seminal figure in the hip hop era, but he made his mark on the West Coast. He founded in Oakland, California, a group called Digital Underground in 1987, which I remember when their first album came out, I had to go get it. It was Sex Packets was the name of the album. The Humpty Dance, Do What You Like, many other songs on it was really good, and I remember it was the biggest, thing at the time. Now, he served as its front man and leader. He had several alter egos, and his goal was to make each of them feel real. Among the most popular was Humpty Hump. Now, Humpty Hump, at one point, when he first came out, I thought was somebody actually totally different. I didn't know it was the same person. He definitely tried to play it off as 2 different people, and it really worked at first. He used to wear a little fake nose and glasses, and although it wasn't necessarily fooling anyone, he did do things where they would make him appear at the same time on stage and in videos. And he went to great lengths to preserve that believability. Now, he said characters were a means towards greater storytelling and showmanship, not only for Jacobs to try out different impersonations, but for those impersonations to develop backstories and even interact. In the Humpty Dance video, he had a rep from the label play Humpty, and even walking in front of him, dancing, doing other things in order to maintain that illusion. In 2010, an interview with SF Weekly, he revealed that there were 3 different Shock G's and 4 Humpties. His mission statement is set forth in the opening lines of the Humpty Dance. All right, stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you used to. I mean, he really did. It did throw people for a loop. He was at the time when that came out, it was a lot of hardcore rap out, and this was somewhat of a fun, dance music, and it wasn't so much of a gangster type music at the time. So he definitely was changing things up. Now, in addition to his role playing Shock G, he had a pivotal role in setting the stage for rap's, greatest artist, Tupac. Now, Atron Gregory, who was Digital Underground's manager, he only signed Tupac because Shock G gave the approval. Shock G, he also took Tupac under his wing. Tupac rose up from being a roadie on the group to being a member to having his own solo act. Shock G shopped around Tupac's demo, got him his first song placement on Digital Underground's Same Song, which Shock G also produced, and his first movie role in that movie 1991, Nothing But Trouble. It was a small part, but nevertheless, Tupac was getting exposure. And then, to boot, he co-produced Tupac's first big hit, I Get Around. I remember when Tupac had that verse on Same Song, all my friends, everybody was saying that was the best verse on the song. And we were looking forward to hearing Tupac's solo album because we knew it was coming out soon. Now, Shock G, he was a bridge builder in other ways too, though, because through Digital Underground, he helped bring the sounds of George Clinton P-Funk to rap music. In LA, one of his contemporaries, Dr. Dre, was laying the foundation for gangster rap by exploring the similar beats and territory. But Shock G, he saw the deeper connection to the music. He made sure the Digital Underground embodied Clinton's entire outlook. He said, "I'm glad music saved me from being that hardcore revolutionary because Funkadelic's message was always free your mind and your ass will follow." Now, that commitment to the fun-loving cause earned him respect from his forebearers, and he studied P-Funk music, George Clinton, and different personalities like Bootzilla and Casper and Dr. Funkenstein. And, Bootsy Collins and others gave him a lot of respect for what he did and reimagining their work and making it fresh for the new era. And in that way, he was somewhat of an innovator. So a lot of people, they used to try to downplay Digital Underground because of Humpty Hump as just merely a dance and a gimmick act. But he was much more than that. Now, DMX and Shock G, they were totally different, but they both had a big, huge presence, and they brought a lot of dimension to their art and their music. Now, Shock G, that meant detailing his sketch work so carefully that his alter egos spoke for themselves. For DMX, that meant laying his soul bare in pursuit of salvation from pain and sin. And each is also representative of the way hip-hop treats its elders. It's somewhat replaceable, disposable, and forgotten. Now, a lot of people that's young and listen to rap music, they don't go back and listen to the music before them. I know my son, he ended up discovering DMX after watching the movie Deadpool and fell in love with DMX then. But very few people nowadays go back and listen to the music before their time. Now, they had different styles and career trajectories. Each fell victim to the same rap ageism in the end. In the days between the two losses, we lost Black Rob from Bad Boy Records. He was just 52 years old. He went from just a foot soldier in one of the most successful rap outfits to homeless in his last days. This man was homeless, but yet Puff Daddy is almost a billionaire. And his story is a clear-cut example of the way rapper life cycle burns out its stars. The infrastructure to support them in the middle age doesn't exist. They went largely underappreciated until it was too late. They only received the respect they deserved once they were gone. Despite that, their music is lasting and they got a lot of connections they done made with their fans, and DMX had a 2-hour memorial service at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, and it had a bunch of fans there inside and out. They had a bunch of people riding their motorcycles and different things to come to see him, bumping his music and everything. And it was just a huge outpouring of support for DMX. I mean, the man did drop 5 #1 albums on Billboard. That's 5 #1 albums in the world, basically. And, you know, it's a shame that he was going through the struggles that he was going through, and he was never able to get the full help that he need. Of course, you have to want the help, but it still is unfortunate that he wasn't able to get more help, and that we has lost a legend at an early age. It's now becoming more reports out that Shock G was on probably the same type of struggle with drugs, and it's unfortunate as well. It said that he was very insecure and was upset that he didn't get the credit and support that he felt he deserved. And of course, Black Rob, it's unfortunate this man died homeless in the hospital with many different ailments, when I'm sure it would have been no sweat on the back of Puff Daddy to make sure this man had his hospital bills and medication and things, and even a place to stay taken care of for him. But it seems that that wasn't the case, and you know, for a person that's a billionaire or close to it to not spend a few $1,000s to make sure that somebody is okay that helped them build their empire is unfortunate. In the end, they all died within just 2 weeks of each other, and that is very strange. It's hard to explain. It's weird that death for famous people especially comes in threes, and you all let me know, is it something bigger than this? Is it something that we don't see, don't know, don't understand? Or is it just a big coincidence? I don't have the answer for that. I want to know what you think, but I do know that I think it may be more than a coincidence, but that's just my thoughts on the matter. And it's very strange and, of course, unfortunate. Anyway, I'm Jay. Don't forget to hit that subscribe, bang that bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit that like, subscribe, bang that bell, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.